Hello, welcome to Sound Talk Podcast. I'm Stephen Kerrison. I run Tall Trees Audio Mastering here in Liverpool.
I'm also in Liverpool. I'm also called Stephen. And I'm from what studio?
Sound Talk is a podcast where each episode we, the Stephens, will be chatting to a special guest who we respect and admire about their journey into audio, their approach and working practices, and all things to do with sound. Today's guest is the owner of Joe's Garage Studio in Bristol, live sound engineer who's toiled with artists as disparate as Gang of Four, Eliza, Carthy and Jim Moray, as well as being an active musician himself. It's Joe Garcia. Hiya, Joe.
Hello, very nice to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for coming on. Massive pleasure. Are you all right, Joe? How are you anyway?
I'm all right. I've done me back in and I got a cold, but I can't complain really. In the scheme of things, that's pretty minor, I reckon. Yeah. I managed to do my back in walking to the studio the other day. I really don't know. I just put my foot weird. It's quite upsetting. And the same week I was thinking, oh, my back's been all right recently. Anyway, yeah, I'm all right. All things considered, thanks.
I put my back out taking my shoe off a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it's all it takes sometimes, isn't it? Yeah. Putting my shoes on was agony this morning.
I pulled a string waving around a sprout stick.
What?
You know, like a stalk, of the sprout stalk.
Oh, bloody hell, right, okay.
Brandishing it like a sword, waving it around a bit, and then my leg just...
Some nice insight into your home life there.
And it took months. It was like 4 months of my hamstring.
Oh, man.
You're not off the sprouts ever since, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's scary how little it can take to do something like that, isn't it? As one.
As an engineer, has everyone been sitting down for a year now? Because I realised I have yesterday, and I go for a walk and I force things, but I realised I've dented my new chair. My bot. I was thinking, what about my bot?
My chair is definitely kind of creakier than it was 6 months ago. Like it's had a lot of strain.
Yes, mine's absolutely the same. But spending far too much time watching telly as well. So my sofa is definitely imprinted more than it was when I moved in at just the start of lockdown.
Any other advantages during the pause? Things like emptying your hard drives of endless work that's been sitting there and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've been doing a bit of that. Yeah, the downloads folder gets pretty clogged up quite easily, doesn't it? Getting rid of all those bloody stems and various things that people send you that are massive that you don't need to hold on to on 2 different drives. It's been exciting. Moving stuff over to backup hard drives is pretty dull, but it has to be done. You guys been on top of that stuff?
Yeah, even just like for your own writing and things like that. I think that's been the one really. Just go, because we're all musicians as well, right? And they're usually on the same system. And I don't know how you manage that, but it's always like a thing you have to do where you go, right, my stuff's over there and the client stuff's there and never the twain shall meet. But nevertheless, you still have to back these up in different ways and different things. So there's always this like parallel mess.
Man.
I use 2 different DAWs. So like one for my own music that I make and one for doing mastering for people.
That's a very
good idea of putting some separation in there.
Yeah, and I've got like a WeTransfer Pro account, which I only use for mastering stuff. So that kind of gets kept in the cloud as well as on 2 drives here. But my own stuff, I'm really, really bad at backing up. It's because I'm so paranoid, I think, about other people's stuff that I just forget about my own stuff. I don't even know where it is.
I guess you just make it again, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If it's that good, I'll remember it. One of them, innit?
Yeah. God, I haven't got that problem, I got to say, just because it's been so uncreative this whole period. I was bad before, but I've just been making even less of my own music, I got to say. It's a bit droughty for sure. Yeah.
How is the mixing of the, what I understand is 2 Anta albums, Joe?
Yeah, well, that's another case in point, really. Yeah, no, one of them's done and is, I think being pressed or waiting to get a test pressing back.
Sweet.
I think we have a date now. This is the collaborative one with Tony Miovi, which was done way back in like 2015, 2016. And then various things dragged it on, a slight reconcepting. But I'm really tough with it now. And that is due, I think, April on Death Waltz.
Sweet.
Which would be nice. Yeah, so yeah, looking forward to hearing test pressings. But I do think that is in production now.
So what, just for the benefit of our listeners, what was the collaboration there? That was you and Antonio Miovi, right?
Yeah, so me as member of Anta. And Tony basically wrote this, well, originally the idea was it was supposed to be an imagining of if Jodorowsky had finished Dune and Magma had done the soundtrack, as I believe they've been in talks to do, what it might have sounded like. And so he approached us with this already written concept album, which was pretty amazing to have him come to us with. And we basically went through and played it all out and recorded it all as a band, which was a lot of fun. Lots of synths, lots of gongs and silly percussion soundscapey things. And yeah, it was a while back now, but it was a lot of fun. And yeah, it's finally seen the light of day.
I mean, I love that concept of somebody else essentially writing an album for you and you learning it as if you were doing a cover version of it. I mean, that sounds like a dream to me.
It's fun. I've got a large part of the actual process, which was it sort of went through a bit of a change, and it's not that anymore. So Alex had the amazing idea of approaching John Reppen to kind of flip the idea in reverse and have him write a novella inspired by the music. So it's a short story that you're supposed to read along with the album, and he's timed it all out. So you've got a sort of words per minute sort of thing. It's fairly nicely flowed, and yeah. So the soundtracks this lovely little sci-fi novel that John's written.
That's amazing. It's a real that's such a cool kind of progression of where the album started and then kind of what it's ended up at. It's really nice. Yeah. It's super meta.
It's cool, isn't it? Yeah, it's coming out as this nice package with the book and the gatefold vinyl and that sort of malarkey.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. Is there another one as well? Have you got another? Like a straight up Anta record ready to go?
Yes, we do, Stephen. So yeah, the other one is nearly finished. It's all been recorded now except for a little interlude chorally bastard that I've got to redo my bass on. So that's the thing that's holding us up on that at the moment. But otherwise, that is pretty much mixed and done. So I think the idea is to wait for the collaborative album with Antonio to come out on Death Waltz first, and us to give that a little bit of breathing space and release that as our own next actual album.
Sweet.
That's the idea.
Oh,
and it's been lots of fun. Yeah, it's a completely different approach as we've done in the past. We sort of laboured over it, and rather than sort of trying to, as you will attest, Stephen, trying to hammer it out live, we've given ourselves some breathing space and some time to just do it at our leisure in the studio. And
so is that a lot easier for you to do now that?
Yeah, it was never a possibility before, because obviously we're paying for studio time.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, just for the benefit of our benefit of our listeners, myself and Joe, I used to play guitar in his band Anta, and we recorded an album, and it was quick. It was we did it in like 2-3 days.
I think so. Yeah.
But I guess my question is that now you've got the kind of like the luxury of having your own space to work in. I guess that's completely dictated this decision-making process of sort of to spend more time and make it a little bit less rough and ready.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's just to give everyone sort of breathing space to do everything as nicely as they could, and not have the whole live compromisey thing of if one person messes up one bit, you got to do the whole thing again. Which is like with the sort of stuff where we're all playing right at the edges of our ability anyway, and trying to shoot for stuff we can't really do. It's a bit more fun if you can just breathe with it a little bit and take your time and present it as you wanted your individual bits to be. So that was nice. Yeah.
A previous intention to make sure you do it live, and it was in a take, and it was a natural,
I think so. You might be able to remember better than me, Stephen. I think we sort of have that in mind as well. It was, we were trying to do a live thing as well, wasn't it? It wasn't just about studio time. I think.
Yeah. We didn't use clicks or anything, did we?
No.
It was just like, we all played in a room. The amps are in separate rooms, weren't they? But yeah, we were all playing in the same room. I don't remember there being that many overdubs at all. Actually, there were obviously some, but not very many. A few patched up mistakes and like the odd overdub. I think we overdubbed the Rhodes, didn't we? Alex overdubbed the Rhodes.
That sounds right. Yeah. I think you got the award for least fixes.
That's because my parts
were out. Were they? I don't know.
When was this album? Was this like 2012, 2013? Is it?
It's about then, yeah. Something
like that. Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah. Since then, you've obviously got your own studio now, Joe's Garage.
Yes, here we are. I'm there right now.
Amazing. So I'm familiar with the building because it's in Bristol, isn't it, at the bottom of Old Market?
That's right. Yeah, it's in the basement of the Exchange.
Sweet. So and I understand that it's gone through like quite a few structural alterations over the years.
Yeah, it has. Yeah.
Could you just give us like a potted history of how it started and like the decision to get your own space and what it took to kind of make that leap and get things started?
Yeah. So for years I'd been sort of working with a little mobile rig as a location recording engineer that can't drive, which had its problems and limitations. And then it always came back to, I didn't really have a space at home to be mixing anything. And yeah, from very early on, really, you're always sort of half on the lookout for a space that's affordable where you can, it wasn't even necessarily going to be a fully blown studio, but even a mix room or something. And then lovely people who ran the Exchange, who I've known for a good old time. They used to run the Croft, where I used to rent a room from next door. Used to live next door. So yeah, Fat Paul and Matt Ottridge and Pete used to run Replay approached me about taking on the basement of the Exchange and potentially running it as a rehearsal room and having a little mix room. So that's how it started, really, and it kind of evolved from that. And eventually we moved around again. So at one point initially it was the whole basement, and I had a big-ish live room and a tiny little control room and a vocal booth, sort of vocal sessions amp booth of a decent size. And then I moved round. I had a big storeroom as well for the bands that were rehearsing. And then I moved it round, moved the control room round, so it was a bit bigger, which was much better. Then about 2 or 3 years ago now, the Exchange decided they want to start doing gigs in the basement again, which they were originally doing before they approached me about having the basement. So they restructured the whole basement, really, and half my rent, which is very nice of them. So I didn't have to have bands rehearsing there anymore, which, I part of me misses. I did have, it's all mates bands, basically, all lovely people who were trusted and could leave with a set of keys and stuff. But you still have to do the whole, if they're using the live room, which obviously they are. If I'm in the middle of a session, I've got to, spike and strike amps and whatever else. So it's always a bit of give and take, really. So yeah, so they restructured it all. So now they've got a little 80 cap venue down there, the other side of my walls, which since lockdown and all this business, it's been fine because there's nothing going on at all, obviously, which is
now
a bit of a shame.
You've basically got your live room back for half your rent. So
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, I've not been able to do many things utilizing them, unfortunately, but yeah, that is basically the long and short of it. Yeah. So as we are now, I've spent more time treating the little room that I do have now, and I've got a nice wooden floor in where we do drums, and it's basically the sort of I want to say cleanest. It's still a pretty grotty basement, but it's kind of it's the nicest it's been, and I've got a window now between the control room and the main part of the live room, which is nice, like a proper bloody studio. Yeah, it's nice place to work from.
Amazing.
Really pleased. And we can do the idea really is just about having flexibility, being able to do varying degrees of separation recording a band live. So you can have booths and you can separate everything out, still have everyone playing with the drummer, or you can stick the amps in the room and do it rough and ready. Yeah, it's just about being flexible, really.
It's an awesome endeavor. Did you do this entirely yourself, Joe?
No, I had lots of help. So lovely Gareth, who I know very well, who going way back now, he first got me the gig doing live sound with Om, and then later Melvin's as well. But anyway, he's very involved with the exchange and does a lot of the building and all sorts of stuff. He's a real jack of all trades, and he built most of the rooms for me and did all sorts really. Yeah. And also I had some help from Ben Turner, who's an excellent engineer producer in his own right, who runs Axe and Trap Studios. He put in the floor for me, the wooden floor, and built a lot of the screens for me as well. He's been a lot of help. He's worked in here as well sometimes. So I didn't do an awful lot myself. I did sort of the wiring myself and that sort of stuff.
It's a big job.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I'm not the best DIY, I've got to say. So it's nice to be able to offer little bits of work to your friends, and little bits of skill swaps here and there. So it's nice to be able to get Gareth's bands in to rehearse in exchange for bits of building work for me.
Well, whilst we're here, we could do a little bit of geeky gear talk if you want. What's your main setup look like there in front of you, Joe?
Which bit do you want to start at? I don't know. Yeah, how long you got?
Let's go reverse order from DAW out.
Oh, I'm still using Logic 10, which is fine. Mm-hmm. Always umming and ahhing about the move to Pro Tools. As yet, not done it. James King, who plays drums and Anton, is also an engineer producer. He tells me I'd hate it, so that's sort of kept me away for now. Yeah, so I'm using Logic. One of the nicest big upgrades I've had recently has had a new console built, a desk, furniture-wise, which has completely changed. I used to have everything on an IKEA table, which I found in a skip, which didn't really look that professional, really, and was ergonomically a bloody nightmare. So I found this excellent chap called Barney something or other, who builds these amazing bits of studio furniture. I think his website's Studio Builds. But it turns out he's a serious heavyweight mixing engineer. He's done like massive records, Arctic Monkeys, and like huge records. Turns out, but he's a really nice chap and builds lovely furniture as well.
Wow.
Got a nice bit of furniture made by him, and God, are we going all in? It's all sat in front of me, so I can actually. Oh bloody hell!
Give us some highlights.
So no, you don't want to go all in.
I mean, I would actually. I would like to go all in.
So I've recently moved away from an RME interface, which was UFX, which was really, really solid and really liked, but I was having to do like ADAT conversion, and I was getting stuff coming in with slightly different conversion times, which was just really bloody awkward when you're doing drums and amps and whatever. So I've moved to an Orion Plus from Antelope, which is 32 by 32. And rather than using their USB interface, I'm going into an RME MADI-Face USB, which is really rock solid. And that's been nice. That's been sort of a pretty seamless integration, really. I was expecting some hiccups, but that's been really nice.
How long did that come to settle for just that bit there? How long did it take you to come to that solution?
Bloody ages. You mean what? Researching what to do?
Yeah, and like
mate,
like a 2-3 year roll that alone of time you just figure out this one's the guy. Something else comes out and you go,
absolutely, yeah,
sure, hasn't it? That could possibly help me. So that's an interesting solution there. And why did you go that route for the MADI integration?
I like having lots of I/O because I do a sort of hybrid approach to mixing where I use summing amplifier by Thermonic Culture called the Little Red Bustard, which gives me a nice bit of valve drive. So I like having 16 outputs And also I use a fair bit of analog outboard mixing as well, which I use the Logic IO plugin. So on Mixdown, I could be using 25, 30 channels of conversion, really, going back and forward. So yeah, it's nice having something that does all of that without it being different conversion times, like I say. Yeah. The Antelope was a really good bet, it seemed, for actual conversion quality. It's nice and small, and I got it for a steal. I got it for about $1,000. It's the second revision of it, the Plus model. And I got it B-stock directly from them, really cheap. So it actually ended up being less money. So before I was using the Honor UFX, and I had an SSL 24 channel ADAT converter that I was doing 16 channels with conversion for the ADAT inputs into the RME. And I sold both of those for more than I think I spent on the Antelope and the RME Mediface. So yeah, pretty chuffed with it.
Amazing.
It's worked out really good. Yeah. Other stuff. Preamps. I like preamps. Yeah. So yeah, so what have we got? I've got one of those API 3124 pluses, which is really tasty. Only thing I don't like about it is that it's really, really hot. There's on the earlier version that I've got, you can't adjust the output. So in order to drive it like you want to drive these things, you end up sort of having to either put a pad on the output or bring the volume down with something else after it, which is a bit of a faff. But I've ended up with 6 channels of CAPI stuff now, 500 series API flavored preamps, which I kind of pretty much prefer to the API stuff, to be honest, because it's really flexible. It's got output trim, and so you can drive those quite hard, and they sound really nice. I've got a 1073 DPA, 2 channels of Neve, and then I've really liking the Rupert Neve Designs 511 500 series preamps. Those are very nice as well. There's some Universal Audio 610 bricks. James has left his strip in here, which is nice. LA 610 strip, which has got an LA 2A on the back end of it. That's very nice. I've got 2 for the sort of general workhorsey sort of stuff. There's 2 Audient ASP 008s. That's 16 channels of straight down the line, nice, cleany workhorse stuff, which is actually really solid. End up reverting to that sometimes. It's good on all sorts of stuff. So that's preamps.
Nice.
Lovely.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Audient stuff. I think it's really
great, really good.
It's really good. I was saying it just for at home. I've got an ID22, which is probably way more. I mean, it's pretty overpowered for just doing what I do here, which is, well, I'll be honest, it's mostly just typing in metadata. But it's got to sound good.
Yeah, it's important stuff, man. Yeah, no, they're really, really, really nicely built, and it's all the same preamps, isn't it? They use on all their stuff, I think.
Yeah, that's right. I think the very small one has a different one.
Oh, the ID4.
4.
Right, okay, makes sense.
I think they kind of, but I think, yeah, once you get past that very small, and I think that's only to do with physical size, I think.
Right.
Yeah, once you get past that, they're all as good as each other, apparently.
Cool.
Pretty great.
Yeah, they're nice interfaces.
So how are you taking? They're ADATing, presumably?
No, they're not. So I'm not really using ADAT in my current system anymore, except for going out to my monitoring system, which is now a Behringer P16 system. No, so those are just straight in on analog line. It's all patch bay, so it all changes.
And have you found the headphone power play system that working for you? Brilliant.
Yeah, it's bloody great. I was initially sort of worried that some musicians might be a bit daunted by it, but it's been great. Yeah, well, even the artists I've had in that I thought might be, I've absolutely loved it. I should have done it years ago. Yeah. It's great.
Headphones, like killer or vibe killer for performing?
Totally both. And it's one of those things that if you, I was working with a lovely acoustic folkie recently who just himself on acoustic guitar singing, and they had it in their head, fair enough. They wanted to record with headphones to hear themselves up close and personal. And, a song wasn't quite vibing like they want. And it's one of the first things you can suggest in that scenario is to try it without headphones. And it makes all the difference in some situations. Yeah. And it's really fun doing the whole band in a room thing without headphones as well. If you've got the space and bits of, gobos and whatever to make it work, it's definitely a fun thing to do.
Yeah, this is a subject that I really wanted to talk to you about, actually, because obviously being a musician as well and experiencing kind of both sides of it, I imagine that gives you like a distinct advantage of how to communicate with musicians versus someone who sort of whose environment is solely studio, who perhaps hasn't experienced sort of being a performer or being on the receiving end of that stuff. Like, you'll be able to think like a musician. Do you think that helps you get better results out of the people you're recording?
Yeah, you think so. It's all about empathy, isn't it? I mean, I don't know many engineers that I really like who aren't musicians. I can think off the top of my head. But yeah, I do think it's just a basic case of empathy and anticipating their needs, and sort of it kind of helps you become as invisible as impossible most of the time, which I think is kind of important. And some musicians aren't massively technically savvy and can't always describe what they want to achieve. So being able to sort of put yourself in their shoes and empathize and be familiar with their music and what they want to achieve, definitely, keeps things sort of smooth as possible, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've touched upon this a couple of times already in different interviews, where just the idea that when you're in a creative mindset, you shouldn't have to think about the technical stuff.
And that's the ideal.
And a lot of the time, speaking in really non-technical language about how you want your stuff to sound works a lot better when you're working with someone who also works in a creative field, I guess. Totally.
Yeah. It's funny how one person's present can be it's mad, isn't it? How some of these words just can be complete opposites for different people. So yeah, as long as you could try and avoid that to some extent, or you sort of catch it earlier on and double check. When you say present, do you mean bright and up front, or do you mean So yeah, apart from in those cases, it's
guitarists that they tend to talk in boost rather than cut terms.
Yes,
it's never like, can you cut that? It's always, it's a bit toppy or whatever.
More and more and more and more.
Yeah.
Everything louder than everything else.
Absolutely.
How do you cope with band dynamics? Because again, it's the same thing of knowing a band. I find I can't help but I know other engineers have said this, but you're genuinely a member of the band for the day, aren't you? You kind of in the middle of the ecosystem and how they act and their politics, and you have to kind of go, okay, well, there's two who are really interested, there's one who's not so bothered, and there's someone else who's like sobering up or whatever. And you just kind of have to manage that in the best way. And still, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I don't know, really. Yeah, you just try to slot yourself in and just sort of keep everyone not killing each other, and try and smooth things along, I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
I've developed bags of donuts.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, a couple of bags on the side and a bit of fruit or something like that. And the disinterested ones just gravitate to the donuts. That's really good. That's a good tip. It reminds me of like years and years and years ago when I was late teens. I remember putting on a gig at the Croft with Mugstar. Oh yeah.
And it's my first time doing a rider, and I just had donuts and crisps.
We've been happy, man.
I love them. Oh, I love those guys.
That's good.
Man, I think the worst rider we ever got, or the weirdest rider we ever got, was with Rose Kemp. We got given a couple, in the pound shops, you get those massive silver, like cheap foil platters. And it was this massive mound of grease, basically. So it was like a quarter prawn crackers, a quarter chips, a quarter crisps, and what was the other thing? I thought sausage rolls or something. It was just like this massive mound of grease. And then they gave us a bucket of ketchup. It's very nice. Pretty good.
There or whatever.
I just dive in, lads.
I've generally found with that stuff, I don't really mind what it is. It's just when I eat it.
Yes.
I mean, I'd rather have that like 2 hours before I play than like a massive, beautiful fantastic curry 5 minutes before I play, which has happened.
Oh yeah, danger zone. Yeah,
all the songs are just really slow.
Yep.
You talk about the complexity of pre-gig meal when you've specifically said, "Can we have it afterwards? Please, can we have it afterwards? Because we won't be able to do anything, and that's the only meal we're going to have, so we won't eat it properly."
Yeah. Oh man, that's one of those things that I find is really different. Whether if you're working touring as an engineer or be in the band, is like I have to eat before. If I'm working doing sound, I have to eat before because I get all low blood sugary and panicky and. But if like you say, if you're playing, you get sluggish and you want to eat after, don't you? Different things in your body at play. It's very strange.
Yeah, I mean, again, you've obviously been on both sides of that loads. I mean, there must be plenty of differences, but I mean, is it still kind of the same? Is it still the same kind of enjoyable, fun, if it is enjoyable and fun experience, sort of being out as an engineer as it is being a member of the band, or do you think it's a completely different kind of experience touring?
On the whole, yeah, it does kind of depend on who you're touring with, I guess. But I think I'm lucky enough that everyone that I can think of is nice to spend time with, and you can have a good time. It's possibly, I guess, it can be stressful in different ways. If you're working, your concerns are slightly different than if you're playing, aren't they? But
well, you're the person that everyone's looking to, aren't you?
Yeah. I guess it comes back to that thing of being invisible as well. If you're the engineer, you want to deliver what the band are doing without someone turning around and going, "Oh my god, here's my vocals," or whatever it is, getting in the way of the performance is the thing, isn't it?
Mm.
You want to do all the little boring technical stuff and try and deliver what the band is putting out.
Yeah. Are you missing it at the moment?
Yeah, more than anything. It's so weird. I don't. Yeah, I mean, like most people, I suppose. I've never had this long a period away from it since I was, ever really. Yeah, it's really, really bizarre. It's affecting people in all sorts of weird ways, isn't it? Yeah.
Do you consider studio practice different to live practice? And if so, how?
Yeah, I think it kind of depends on the size of the gig. On the really big shows, you are doing a full mix. So you're doing everything from the ground up. Obviously, you've got environmental factors with a live gig. The PA and how it's set up and how it's tuned. And coverage and dispersion, all sort of stuff. On bigger gigs, you haven't got to worry about that so much. You've got a nice system engineer taking care of that sort of stuff. On the smaller or the medium-sized gigs, you've got to have all that in mind as well, really. As well as on the smaller gigs, you've got to worry about spill and having much less control over the onstage sound, I guess. Yeah, bloody drum cymbal spill and all that sort of malarkey because it can get in the way and make things a bit more challenging. Whereas in the studio, you've got more control over that sort of stuff usually. Do
you find the mid-level gigs the most challenging because of the lack of system engineers, perhaps? Or
kinda, yeah, I'd say so. Yeah,
live is like problem solving 101.
Absolutely, yeah.
Actually, no mixing. It's more like when people say just balance the sound.
Oh man, yeah.
Actually want to make sure you can make everyone be heard because that's what everyone's going to ask for.
And
I find myself it's not quite the art of studio practice. It's a lot more challenging in many other ways, though.
Definitely.
It's the crossover of that I'm quite intrigued by, though, because I was actually really surprised because the last time I think this actually might be the last time I physically saw you, Joe, which was probably about 2 years ago or something now, when you were doing sound for Jim Moray in the music room at the Philharmonic.
Yeah.
And it was lovely. It was a really, really great gig and it sounded amazing. But I was really surprised to glance over at what you were doing and you had Echo Boy up on a laptop.
Yeah.
And I just thought, oh God, it just didn't even cross my mind that like studio tools like that could be used in that kind of environment. And it just made me think, of course, they're all just doing the same things, aren't they? There must be quite a lot of crossover in terms of the tech. For sure, yeah. And that's been a fairly recent-ish thing. Last sort of 2 or 3 years, I've started to incorporate some of that stuff a bit more. And it's been really fun. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, I mean, I've started toying with my own desk a bit more, which helps all that stuff integrate a bit better. Yeah, it is really fun. I mean, that's the other nice thing about having the studio, actually, is that if it's a band that you're touring with, you can invite them down and you can do pretty much full-on production rehearsals with them. And you can sort of, if it's a band you care about, you can make it affordable and actually really beneficial. So I've done it with all sorts of bands. I've done it with Loop and Thought Forms, and you can basically go through. You can record. I set up my live desk in the studio, and you can record each song, and you can go through with the artist and work out all the different effects you want to use on that exact song, and have it all recorded. And yeah, it's pretty great. It's pretty nice.
Do you think that your initial portable setup rig has been a precursor to, say, this kind of work? And, for instance, your understanding of linking these MADIs and yada yada, because this is the kind of thing which sometimes crumbles people's pickup of how to have this modular rig. Do you think that's informed your practice?
Ooh. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, it's all a big learning curve always, isn't it? We're always learning, but yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, some of these live setups can get pretty involved. At the moment, I'm sort of doing it fairly straightforward. I'm kind of actually, I'm not gone the full route and having
flight cases.
Oh no, I'm well into that. Bloody hell! Oh, no, that's a whole other conversation of money pits. Oh dear man, yeah, but no, I'm not fully into the whole. I'm not doing inserts as I'm doing it. So normally when I'm touring with these bands like Arm and Loop and stuff, I've got my live desk, which is a nice little Midas, and I've got a little analog system of compression. So I've got a nice bus compressor for the drums, which mostly recently has been a TK Audio BC1S, which is like an SSL style bus comp, but it's got high pass filter on the side chain, and it's got blend. So you can parallel compression in one box, which is great on drum bus. And then I've been using a distressor for vocals and Empirical Labs Fatso on guitar bus or whatever else. So yeah, so I've normally got a little 2 or 3 rack for analog compression, and then I'm doing effects on the laptop, really. So it's not so time critical. It doesn't matter if you've got a bit of latency. You can factor that into your calculate. You're working out the delay times and whatever that's working. So do you find that rig that serves just as well doing something like and doing something like like Eliza Carthy or something, where you're doing, because I mean the difference in styles that you seem to be able to pull off is pretty amazing. Are you just using the same kind of portable rig each time, or is it pretty much? Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's the same inserts, the same compressors. Yeah, I mean, they're just really great tools, aren't they? They're all pretty flexible. I guess the sort of plugins I'm using changes more than anything for effects. Yeah, it's just about choosing nice flexible stuff, really. You like the sound of, and it can work for all sorts.
I'm just looking at I've just loaded up a picture of your place there. It looks beautiful. Are you still on that SSL nucleus? Are you enjoying that?
Yeah, I've still got the SSL. I'm actually currently, I've got a board over it. I've got my laptop sat on it. So it's currently underneath you guys. But yes, that's just come back from servicing a few months ago. And it's great. Yeah, I've got to get to the bottom of some annoying niggly problems that I think are my own doing, where so we connect via Ethernet mostly, and I've got you've got to be a bit of a network genius to get it all working. It's not the easiest thing to set up. Thankfully, Mr. James King has been helping me on that front, who is one of those very rare, amazing combinations of an excellent sound engineer and a bloody network technician. He does. So yeah, he's the person to ask for that sort of stuff. But yeah, on the whole, it's really good. I can't use it with the internet on, which is kind of a nightmare, because some of my plugins at the moment are authenticating online. So that's a whole bit of a thing. I have to do restarts and blah, blah, blah. But like I say, that's my own fault in not setting it up properly yet. But on the whole, it's really good. And it's nice having those two little SSL preamps in there as well. Which is handy. Yeah, I definitely like having faders. Having your fingers on stuff. Yeah.
The 8-channel thing or something or other.
Yeah, I've had various little 8-channel things in the past. I had a Mackie one. I had the Avid Yukon ones. Yeah, but I just really wanted 16 of them. What's better than 8?
Why not?
Yeah. It was a good option for 16, really. 16 faders with a bit of transport control, and like I say, the preamps are a bit of a nice bonus as well. So that's kind of the centerpiece to the whole dual approach, really, is that you've got faders for your in the box level control and whatever, and that's all coming out in groups out to the summing mixer.
Is that how you're doing it? Are you doing them as buses, or they are groups? They're the group faders.
Kind of both, really. Yeah. So why can I not understand what you mean?
So are you
sorry?
Are you currently assigning those faders to be as just faders on the desk, or are they assigned specifically to buses or group sends to your?
Oh, it's everything in it. Yeah. So it's just running everything in Logic. So I do a lot of busing, for better or worse. But yeah, so it's all the channel faders, and it's you still got to scroll up and down.
The patch thing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But it's less of that with 16.
Nice.
So good. Yeah, I think the not having internet in your studio surely is a good thing. We actively chose not to have internet in our studio.
Very sensible.
And it is until, like you said, certain plugins. I only there's only one that I use with any regularity whatsoever that I need to do it on. So luckily, it's kind of like I can just tether to my phone and it's easy. But
right.
But yeah, I do wish I didn't have to do it.
I guess sending stuff at the end of the day, or getting sort of feedback from people as you're doing stuff, can be a bit of a pain, I suppose.
It can. I mean, I'm not hugely bothered. I mean, because of the having a little one here and stuff like that, I do sort of all the audio work down there with on big speakers with no distractions.
Cool.
And then I can come here and do all of the the metadata and tweaks and all that sort of stuff. But I think do you have internet at your place, Steve?
No, I do not. And again, it was a conscious decision. There is some downstairs that tap into if I need, and again, I found that most things I do I can do from tethering, because I don't do any cloud backups there or anything like that. I take my system away as well. I don't leave my system there, so that kind of guy. So I've got a little nifty little briefcase that it all goes in, and I feel like I'm smuggling jewels when I go home every night. Just so paranoid. But it just gives me a different. I think I'd be a lot lazier if I had the internet there. I think I'd do things less methodical or something like that. However, I'm thinking of installing it because I've got a project I want to use it for. I'd like to stream from there as well, and that'd be give there's no way around that, really, is there? So
yeah, that's the thing.
That's that.
Yeah, it's all great until you really need it, and then you really need it, and then that's that.
Do you work with anyone, a co-engineer, or is this it's your own trajectory? Do you have mentors? Do you have anyone you take heed from, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, you try and take stuff from everyone, really. It's really nice having producers coming in here, which doesn't happen as often as I'd like, perhaps.
Do you offer dry hire?
Not normally, but there is a handful of engineers that I do trust to do that with. Ben Turner being one of them, James King another. But yeah, I don't find myself here with them when they do that. You take the little hire fee and have a day off. But maybe I should. I think it's really nice doing a bit of backseat watching and seeing other people do stuff. I had Tom Peters down here a few months ago in between lockdowns with the band, and it's really, really nice seeing him work, and just seeing how different people use your space and your stuff. It's really inspiring and really, really nice. And I've nicked some of his ideas, of course.
Was that working on the latest Alpha Male Tea Party album, or is this for something?
No,
else?
that's for something else. Yeah. It's for another band called Around who we're in. Yeah, but he set up some ambient mics out in my corridors. There's like a stone corridor between my rooms, which is that sort of it's actually the fire escape from the venue. But it's one of those things I always had in the back of my head. Oh, I wonder what it sounds like out there. And for whatever stupid reason, I never got around to bloody putting anything out there. But it's one of the first things he asked me to set up. We set up together when he came down here to do drums, and it's something I've done pretty much every drum session since. So yeah, it's really nice watching other people work. I mean, I've been thinking recently about approaching people for some work experience, because you find yourself not doing it, running your own little place. You tend to sort of get a bit stuck in your ways, and you get around in circles a little bit. And I do think that, yeah, it's kind of, since Dom came in really, you sort of realize how much you get from watching someone else work.
I always get the impression in Bristol that like a lot of you guys who run studios kind of all know each other anyway.
Yeah,
like it's a really nice community down there. I mean, I know since I've been in Liverpool, I've tried to make a bit more of a conscious effort recently to try and get to know people a bit more and stuff, because it does feel a bit like, why shouldn't you just speak to everybody and
for sure
know everyone? Because I think, what other places in Bristol are there that you have good relationships with? Do you ever do work for
studios?
For them? Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, before I had this place, I was doing bits of work in State of Art. We touched on earlier on where we did the Antar album.
Mm-hmm.
So that was Jeff Barrow's last place. So I used to do bits and pieces in there. Now he's got the amazing Invader Studios, which I've done a few bits in as well.
I imagine well stocked, right?
It's lovely. Yeah, it's a really nice space. Yeah, it's very, very nice. Yeah, all sorts of crazy stuff in there. Really nice. Jim Barr's got a lovely place as well. The other Portishead studio. Used to do bits and pieces in there. Where else? There's loads of places. And there's not really anywhere else I've worked an awful lot. There's lots of other nice studios that we're all pally with. Matt Sampson down at Bink Bonk's got an amazing space.
You said Bink Bonk then?
Bink Bonk, yeah. He's got a crazy collection of ridiculous toys, yeah.
I would guess that, yeah. Things that go bink and bunk.
Yeah, that's it. And all sorts of other horrible noises. But he's a genius. He fixes stuff as well, like nobody else. He looks after amps and pedals and outboard and valve gear and whatever else, and microphones. He's a good person to know. I've not been over to Ali Chant's new place yet, over to Playpen. I've heard really good things. But Toybox was talking of toys. Toybox was of course a bit of an institution in Bristol, where I had my own first experience as a musician going into record when I was a teenager, before I was really doing any engineering really, which was pretty formative in my forming, shall we say. Amazing experience with Ali, and I really, really, really rate all the records he works on. And talking about bits of work experience and who you'd like to observe, I think I might have to ask Ali if I can look over his shoulder a bit once in a while. He's up for having us down.
I'm sure he would be. I mean,
love to see his space.
Lovely bloke, isn't he? I've recorded with Ali in Toybox, and it's just it's a beautiful place, and he's just really great. He actually gave me some of the nicest encouragement, when I was playing ever, because I was in a band at the time where we were kind of obsessed. We were talking earlier about live takes and getting them right. I was really obsessed with just completely being completely live and just nailing it every time and all the rest of it, and to a really to probably quite a detrimental degree, to be honest. But he said, look, it's okay, you're not in a rehearsal room anymore. If one of yous make a little mistake, you don't all have to stop. You'll be fine. We'll just patch it in and it'll be no problem.
Get through it.
And because he said that, we hardly made any mistakes.
Brilliant.
Just being allowed that safety net, I think was really, and I think that's the sign of a good producer or engineer, isn't it? To like, just no matter how you do it, just kind of make the band feel at ease and comfortable.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Yes, definitely agree.
Do you find during sessions, Joe, that you sometimes are hired as an engineer, but you end up being a producer?
Probably more than I actually am credited with producer. Not in a kind of, but just in a subtly kind of backgroundy kind of way, I guess. You're always sort of treading that line between the two. Mostly not enough to be credited, but I mean,
not the points on the sheet, but
no, you're the other pair of ears in the room, aren't you? It's quite. Sometimes you restrain yourself, and you know where the line is, and sometimes if you've got a nice relationship going, you might dip your finger in.
Negotiate that beforehand with the client, or is it often that just unfolds?
Yeah, it just unfolds, really, doesn't it? Fairly casual, I would say, and laid back. Yeah.
I mean, knowing when and when not to do that must be a skill that gets developed over time, and possibly a few faux pas along the way.
That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that it's. Yeah, I think you're right. That is like a really big part of just doing what we all do, really, and just learning to converse and coexist with bands and musicians. It's always treading that line. Yeah.
What do you think is the most frequented skill you use during a session? Like the thing you seem to be doing all the way through it?
Spacebar.
Spacebar and Arky.
To second that concept, I think it's tape op. I think tape op is a good session. If you can read the eye of the guy or girl needing to do the thing and you get it right, you're flowing, and that's the communication happening then.
Definitely, yeah. I think it comes back to what we were saying before about being invisible.
Yeah.
Just keeping it going and just making them feel at ease, like you say. Yeah. Yeah. Diplomacy.
And the mix is kind of like the archiving of that. It's like the agreed what we've just agreed politically here now in the space in real time. We're going to now make that happen in the mix for you. Trust me.
Yeah.
I always try and clear up a production thing beforehand, and then it's not. It doesn't. It's the same as like preparing anything. It doesn't really work that way.
Yeah.
I've tried, and if you say, "Can I do that?" you guarantee the minute you put in your oar to suggest something, it's not going to fucking be wanted. And similarly, if you don't say anything, you guarantee you've got to step in and do a little bit of suggesting a harmony or whatever the hell it might be. So you're right. I think you're right. Just more of a casual process might be best. I think I scare people when I ask them as well. Do you want me to produce your what? I think that's possibly where I'm going wrong. I don't know.
So what we need to do now is the goodbye, isn't it?
Ooh.
That we splice in.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks anyway, Joe. That's been brilliant.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.